Tonight I thought it would be good to start looking at Joshua. Because last time I mentioned that one of the heroes of the Bible was Moses, and he was probably one of the big names of the Old Testament. But we don't often hear of the people that followed him and really focus on them. But I just want to start off by thinking tonight about, I think most of us generally know about the way the Salvation Army works. In the Salvation Army we have a hierarchy system. We have from the general down to corps officers, down to soldiers and adherents and things like that. But I've been wondering for a while, if there was these great people that had all these great qualities of being the general, and they were there at the same time, who would be appointed? You know, one would have to miss out, or it'll be interesting to see how all these great people, great leaders were around, and how they'll be appointed and who will be chosen and things like that. But even if there is this great leader like Moses, and there's this other guy called Joshua that was a bit under him, he was a bit younger than him, but it was a good time that even though Joshua was a great leader in his own right, he still had to wait for the right time to actually take leadership of Moses. So I think something I just want to start off by talking about is spiritual leadership. We really have to understand how spiritual leadership works, and God's really been teaching me that over the last 2 years especially. That we really, especially in the Salvation Army, we have to believe that the Salvation Army is speaking on God's behalf, and that our leaders have been spending a lot of time in prayer and appointing the right people at the right places and the right times and things like that. So we need to believe that God anoints and God appoints our people like a general. I know a lot of people have disagreed about this topic quite a bit, but we have to believe that God appointed our general, and He appoints our territorial commanders, our divisional commanders, and even our COs. So we believe that Jeff, you're being appointed as our corps officer for now, and we have to understand and respect that spiritual authority. So that's it's something that we really have to learn, especially as younger guys, that we have to respect our spiritual elders, because there's definitely a spirit of anointing on these people. And I've got a few good examples that I probably won't share now, but it is a real thing, spiritual authority, and we have to respect that. And just going back to Moses and Joshua, Moses was the appointed leader at the time of Israel being taken out of Egypt, and Joshua, even though he was born quite a bit younger, he showed good leadership qualities from the start, and but didn't ever question Moses' authority and try to take over from him at any stage. And I think that's a good point to learn from him. Yeah, so Moses' understudy was Joshua. He basically took him as an understudy, and Joshua, you'll probably find later on, is actually the name that the Son of God had as well. Jesus is basically the name of Joshua. So Joshua was basically born during the Exodus in that time, and travelled through those times in leaving Egypt and going into the desert for 40 years, and then leading the guys into the Promised Land. But I'll get there in a second. Joshua showed great dedication and leadership from a young age. They must have seen something special in him from a young age. There must have been something special that God had been putting into him from a young age. So, but he didn't ever really dishonour himself, but he always supported his leaders. And he didn't ever talk them down about it and work out, but he was a great supporter of the leaders. He basically captured the vision of the leaders. It didn't really argue with it. He knew it was from God. He took the vision and added to it. He added to it. He built it, and he really supported him in that way, which helps build the great Israel that we know. So he didn't doubt God, and he trusted his spiritual leaders too. He knew that Moses and the other Aaron, people like that, were these appointed spiritual leaders, and he supported them as much as he could and stayed dedicated to them. And at one stage, there was 12 people sent into a certain town of Canaan, and Joshua and Caleb were two of the guys that were sent in as spies to have a look at this place. And basically, the 10 of the 12 came back and doubted that God was going to give them this land, and really just had all this negativity and didn't even trust their leaders. That God told them that they were going to take this land. God had told us that they were going to take this land, and 10 of them doubted. But then there was Joshua and his mate Caleb. They came back and said, "Yes, this is a great land. We're going to take this. God has promised it, and it is ours." And basically they saw God's vision, they heard God's promise and stayed to that and really stuck to it. So they basically stayed positive and confident in God's promises when everyone else doubted, when heavy opposition arose. But some of these guys, I'm not sure how the movies are, but a lot of movies I've seen about these times, there was a lot of slyness and opposition and guys doubting people like Moses and Joshua and trying to cause a lot of trouble within Israel. But because of their faith with God, and they were the only two, Joshua and Caleb were the only two of their generation to actually enter into the promised land because of their faithfulness, their dedication to God, and they didn't doubt God. Everyone else basically in their generation got killed off because of their disbelief and just because they didn't trust God. So I think looking at how to be a hero from Joshua is faithfulness, being faithful to our leaders, being faithful to God's vision for our life, being even in the form of the Salvation Army. I think being faithful to that and taking that up and running with it, even though it's not everything we want. We believe that the Salvation Army is the way that we've been given a chance to do ministry and follow God and change the world.